World War I, the first worldwide war. Many people think this war is primitive compared to the modern wars of today. While this is true in some ways, they used weaponry that was revolutionary for its time, along with a few things that we will never use again. World War I had the most casualties of any war so far, coming in with somewhere between 8 and 11 million military personnel killed. Not to mention the greater amount of civilians caught in the crossfire. Trenches were dug as a form of cover from gunfire and explosion damage. These would obviously protect soldiers from direct gunfire, as well as giving them a sharp edge in battle. They would use the crest of the trench or holes dug out in the trench wall to fire back at the enemy. While the majority of countries joined on the side of the Allies, the Central Powers did put up quite a fight in return. World War II had a much greater death toll than the previous war. There were at least 15 million military deaths, as well as 25 million wounded, and 45 million civilians killed. Here are a few of the main contributors to the war based off of some of their armor and their casualties. Machine guns, which were used a little bit in the last war, gained way more popularity in World War II. One of which being the MP40 because of its easy building process and cheap material cost. Another, which was used in Germany, is the MG42. This gun was also really popular because of its extreme stopping power and its still relatively fast production rate. A very important theme of World War II were all of the bombings that took place. As you can see here, most of the bombings took place in two different areas. All of the European conflict mostly stayed up in the northwestern region, while all of the Pacific conflict stayed down in the southeastern region. Speaking of the Pacific Theater, the eventual and, well, very explosive end to World War II was Harry S. Truman's decision to stop the threat of Japan with 2 of our atomic bombs. These bombs were weapons that were designed to destroy. They were launched at 2 of Japan's major cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Before this, Japan was taking all of the Pacific Islands and eventually attacked the US in Pearl Harbor. All in all, the 2 atomic bombs being dropped in Japan marked the official end to World War II. The Vietnam War was a proxy war fought between the United States as South Vietnam and Soviet Union and mainland China as North Vietnam. While our excuse to get into the war was not a good one, and how people didn't really like the war overall, it was still a very cool key part of American history. The mass amounts of vegetation in Vietnam concealed the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong operations. The US used a tactical herbicide known as Agent Orange to clear out the forests, which did have some pretty bad effects on the people of Vietnam. They deployed armored ground vehicles to fight back against the hidden enemies with greater safety. The US used Agent Orange and napalm to effectively make the fight easier, but more importantly, keep the casualties on a lower end, while ending the war quicker overall. All that being said, America still had 8 years of direct intervention in Vietnam. Whether it's the technological advancements, the utter horrors as a result of these wars, or the very important lessons we've learned along the way, all of these wars have been very important to US history.